One thing I've been asked about before is how have I gotten my arm definition, my arm cuts or whatever. And I remember, it's kind of funny, like back when I was in my early years as an engineer, like maybe early 20s or so, was when I was just really getting into calisthenics, and I was going to the gym. I had been doing exclusively calisthenics for a while, probably a couple of years, a year or two or so. And that's really when I started to see my definition, like in my arms. Um, like especially like my triceps, a little bit more of my biceps and whatnot. But anyhow, a guy that I knew, a fellow engineer, I was working out with him, and he was like, "Man, Sean, you got those cut arms." And I hadn't really, I don't know, I guess I hadn't really thought about it much because I've always been kind of like a thinner kind of guy. I didn't necessarily have arm definition, but I never really carried a whole lot of body fat, especially not in my arms. And so, but I will say the type of exercise that I was doing really brought out a lot more definition. Now, one thing that I've always kind of like had a harder time to do is put on a little, put on size. Um, and but that'll probably be another topic for another video in the future. But yeah, size has always kind of been a little harder for me to put on, and I haven't always been as willing to kind of do certain type of things to put on size, like weight gainers and all that. But definition, that's been cool because I was able with the size I was able to put on. It definitely had it increased my definition because my body fat, again, especially in my arms, has already been relatively low. But that said, how did I get cut cut arms? Well, first thing is kind of like what I've been saying already is lower body fat for sure. And I would say and I really I don't know if it's really best to give a number, but like for me, it's always been like, body fat for sure below 20%. Now my body fat percentage probably in the early days when I was doing calisthenics was probably about 17% or so, which is not extremely high, but it's not very low either. But it was plenty for me to get to see more definition in my arm muscle. Um, but keep in mind, it could depend though on your genetics and whether you're male or female, because some people carry weight differently. Genders carry weight differently, and people, depending on how their genetics are, carry weight differently. Some people gain more weight in their arms. Some people gain more weight in their stomach region. That's kind of me. Like I don't tend to gain a lot of weight in my arms or my legs, but I'll gain a little more like in the stomach region. Um, the other thing is a lot of reps of, I would say, like moderate or medium weight. So that's really like me doing, like when I say moderate weight, I mean if you were to put it in the more technical terms, like how people usually say it, I would say like a weight that I could do probably um 8, 10 times or whatever, maybe a little bit more, and kind of be like a decent struggle. That's added decent definition. Um, I would say via size, because again, my whole thing is my body fat has already been kind of low, but that means that whatever growth I have to be probably more noticeable. Whatever muscle growth I've had will be more noticeable. But yeah, a lot of reps of like more like medium weight. And then finally, the final thing I wanted to say is the biggest keys to definition, especially in my triceps, were dips. Dips where you get on a parallel bar, and I actually do that at the end of this video here. But you get on on parallel bars, and you lower yourself down until your triceps are about parallel, and then you push your weight up. It's kind of almost like a push up. It's a similar type of move. It's a push and move. Um, but it works your chest and your lower chest and your triceps a lot. Really, really good for triceps. I think that dips are probably one of the best, hands down, one of the best triceps exercises there are. They really develop that definition, that whole horseshoe that people like to call it. Um, those are really good for triceps. Chin ups are good. You know, chin ups are a pulling move, and so chin ups work the biceps more, and they kind of help me to develop the separation between the two heads of the bicep a little bit. I already had a little bit of that separation from doing like curls a bit, but I've done so many chin ups that I think that has perhaps that may have helped to kind of bring in a little bit more of that definition. But most of the definition I tend to notice in my arms is with my triceps. Another thing that I'm noticing now that seems to do well with bringing out tricep definition is like the exercise move you see me doing here, where I was practicing like the L sit, what I call L sit tuck. Well, I'm just doing the leg lift portion of it there because I'm trying to develop some hip flexor strength. But anyhow, whenever I just kind of lift my body weight up on my arms, man, it's a crazy contraction in those triceps, crazy contraction. And so I know that that's kind of developing my arms a bit. And the move that you saw me do at the beginning of this video, which is the tiger push up, where you get on the ground almost like you're in a plank move, but then you push off of your elbows. Okay. But yeah, even here, you see in the dip video, I don't know, I'm kind of the visuals are a little bit dark, but you should be able to see the definition of my triceps there. Just the fact, just the act of holding up your body weight is major triceps, major triceps. Right here, you see me doing a just knee lifts. It's for lower abs. So anyhow, moderate weight, relatively low body fat, at least below 20%, depending on your genes, and a lot of dips, chin ups, and even just stuff just holding your body weight up.